In the beginning, Tolkien was consulted, and in the beginning of Systematic Geekology, he rose again, and he chose one, the only, the begotten, chosen child of Tolkien, Nick Polk, who is now part of our show. What's going on, Nick? How's it going, man?
What's up, dude? I'm good, especially now that Joshua Knoll has pronounced Tolkien's choosing of me specifically.
Yeah,
So,
Zombie Tolkien chose.
yeah, zombie Tolkien,
Yeah,
which,
yeah.
I'm trying to think, would zombie Tolkien, like, eat brains or?
I think he eats the will of the elves. Is what I'm thinking. Yeah,
Oh, dang, the will of
yeah.
the elves. Ooh, I like it.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like they just have special willpower, and that's what he's going after.
Yeah, evil
Yeah,
Tolkien. Yeah.
evil zombie Tolkien. Um, the reason I chose Tolkien as your origin story, Nick, was because you're like the Tolkien guy around here. You're I don't know if you would officially be classified as a Tolkien scholar. I call you one, so I guess that makes you one. Is that how that works?
I don't know. I mean,
If
I
enough
will
people
not
say it, is it
deny.
just true?
I won't deny, when people say it, but I don't. I think the word scholar gets thrown around a little too easily. I am a
That's
very
true. That's true.
dedicated Tolkien enthusiast, and I have published some academic articles on Tolkien, um, but I still learn a lot, and I have still not read everything that man has ever written. So I'm just on a Tolkien journey. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah. But now, one, what I do know, you do work with the Tolkien Society, right?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, and you're
And
part of the Tolkien Heads. You wanna talk about either of those?
sure. Tolkien Heads was actually how we got connected, and
Yeah.
eventually, but I'll come back to that. So I'm the production editor for the academic journal of the Tolkien Society. The journal's called Malorn, like one of the trees in
Man,
the Lord of the
sounds so
Rings.
cool.
Yeah, it's actually open access as well, so you don't even have to be a member. You can go to the website and read it for free. So anyway, you want to see
Nice.
the work I do. So I just pick art, make sure the words look good, and just I have talked to artists and make sure that we have enough art for our awesome journal. So if you're an artist and you want to have your art featured in a or a journal, let me know. So that actually got me connected to Tripp Fuller of Homebrew Christianity, mutual friend,
Yeah.
and we put together a Tolkien intro to Tolkien class for in preparation for the Rings of Power show, which then I ended up going to beer camp in North Carolina in your neck of the woods and
Yeah.
met you, Will. We hung out. We got to see Woody, R.I.P. to a legend, and
Yeah.
got to drink beer and play arcade games, and now we're making cool podcast stuff together.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you really sold yourself on like the geek aspect that weekend. Because like not only are you there with Tripp Fuller himself talking about Tolkien and the rings and the importance of like friendship and all these other things, you also made your own blend, blend for your tobacco blend for your pipe, right? Am I
Well,
saying that
here's
right?
the
I
thing.
feel like I'm
I'm
stuttered a
writing.
lot.
No, you said it 100% right. I'm writing on the coattails of Tripp because Tripp
Ooh.
went to a local tobacconist and had them make a blend for Tolkien Heads.
Okay.
So
I didn't know that.
I'm part of the podcast, so I'll take a little credit, but it wasn't me. It was all Tripp. So
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I just knew you guys were like, we have the Tolkien blend, and you were chilling out, and I was like, man, I'm just not dedicated enough. It turns out you inspired me, and that's when I went home and reread the Silmarillion and the Lord of the Rings.
yes,
Like,
and I
how to get
we
into
just
all of it.
I'm gonna bring you. Here's what I'm saying. Here, I'm gonna bring you a pipe for the next beer camp, and
Praise God.
you don't even have to smoke it if you don't like to smoke pipes, but I will give you one to put in
I
your
want
mouth.
to. I might smoke it at some point, but I also at some point want to pull like a SpongeBob and Patrick scene, where like they have the pipe, but it was like bubbles, and everybody else is looking
Oh
really
yeah,
cool, and I'm like, bubbles. I need to do both of those things, I think.
yeah, you do
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
Oh man. So Nick, we got to some outside of the podcast, talked about some of what you geeked out on. What other than Tolkien, what else do you big fan of? Like what are your fandoms?
Yeah, we just did an episode on basketball, and they feature the creators of South Park, and South Park's probably my number two. Actually, my
Good stuff.
one of my one of my most recent academic articles is on South Park's treatment of Lord of the Rings. So
Ooh,
a little
that's cool.
crossover fandom fave. Probably the other two that are runner ups are Buffy the Vampire Slayer
Ooh,
universe
okay.
and Avatar: The Last Airbender. Those are probably like my
Man,
top, where I've like read mostly, watched everything, done the deep dives, all that stuff.
man. See, people are going to be watching this video later on, and I'm about to make a comment that's not going to time well. But
I'm
we're
ready for
actually
this
about to do
comment.
a series of Avatar: The Last Airbender on the podcast, not on the YouTube, but it's going to be season 1, season 2, season 3. And I think I want to say you're on all 3 of those. Like, it's going to take us a couple months to get through them, but
I'm very
dang.
happy. Also another cool thing that I got to do that will be coming up is that I have another academic chapter coming out in a book, and
Ooh,
it's going to talk about Tolkien's theology that comes out in Avatar: The Last Airbender. So another cool crossover
what?
of fandoms that I got to do, and call it academia. So pretty pumped about that.
Man, that's sick. That's so cool. So, man, outside of fandom, outside of Tolkien and Avatar and Buffy and all of that, you have a real life that's not just geeking out about stuff. You are. I'm trying to think if you're married or engaged, but I know you're a teacher. So you want to tell us some about like who is the man behind the legend?
Yeah. Oh, the legend. Oh, yeah. I'll break that legend. Bring in the mundane, um, of me, of Nick, the Tolkien's chosen. Yeah. So I am married. My wife's name is Kelly, and we met in college here in Nashville, and we got married in 2014, and we have been living in the Nashville area ever since. And I've went to school to be a youth pastor. I was one for a bit, was a social worker, and I have made the career swap where I am going to be a high school English teacher, and I start my first year uh, teaching on August 1st, 2023. So very excited.
Man, yeah, no, that is exciting. We love teachers. My mom's always been in kind of like the education realm. I want to call it a field, but I was like, realm just sounds cooler.
Yeah,
So,
the
yeah,
educational realm. Yeah,
yeah,
no doubt.
I like it better.
Will's I think Will's wife is also a
Yeah,
teacher and teaches teachers, which is really cool.
yeah, yeah. Y'all are you're about to join her realm.
It's so true.
Well, yeah, yeah. I wonder if Arda reside over the educational realm, or how does that work?
I
Oh,
think
Arda,
that
Eru Iluvatar.
no,
Arda's the
yeah,
place. I'm sorry. Yeah,
I think so because I see Gandalf is like the ultimate archetypal figure in my mind as far as the old man mentor character. So if I can be half as good of a teacher or as a mentor as Gandalf, then I'll be happy.
oh man, yeah. I thought of another fandom of yours. You
Yeah.
also part of the first one in our Harry Potter series. We're going to be reviewing the books one at a time. I think you're going to be in a couple more of those. Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings, like that's like a big comparison thing going on. I know
Mhm.
you prefer Lord of the Rings, but how would you compare and contrast them if you had to do it in like 10 seconds?
Uh, First, I grew up with both of them simultaneously. Saw them move both the Lord of the Rings movies and the Harry Potter movies coming up. So they're just huge parts of my childhood and nerdiness. But I'd say that a lot of themes that are in Harry Potter are borrowed or inspired by Tolkien's conceptions, which is okay because Tolkien's own work is inspired by like Beowulf and Greek myths. And I think that Harry Potter just brings a later cool fantasy twist on some Tolkienian themes, which has now become the Harry Potter fandom. So, yeah.
Mm, good stuff. Good stuff. Well, I got one more fandom that we saved for last that I know is close to your heart. Punk rock.
Oh,
I
so
think
true.
people hear you're a Tolkien fan, you smoke tobacco pipe, and they assume you like a flute and some slow folk music. And we're just gonna drop this bomb at the end that actually he loves punk rock music. You wanna tell us like what's your favorite band, or tell us something about like what connects with you from that musical genre?
Yeah. I grew up, punk was like the first music that I've quote unquote discovered on my own as like an adolescent, where I just listened to like classic rock and worship music. And I found a punk CD of my mom's from when she was in school, and it was a band called Agent Orange, which is like an OG California band. Changed my life. I still to this day prefer crappy small venue shows in mosh pits. Like I saw Blink 182 this past weekend, and it was in a big arena. It was really great, but I was just sitting, and they were so far away, and I couldn't even like hit people
Yeah.
and have people hit me. So
He said couldn't even hit
it's
anybody.
couldn't even hit anybody. But punk has just kind of really helped me come into my own, helped me critically think, and shaped. It was one of the first things where I was like, you know what, this is mine. And I like when kids were like, I don't really like punk music, and I was like, well, I do, and I'm cooler than you. Which I don't feel that way now, but that's how I felt as a teenager.
Man, that's funny. Yeah, I wasn't allowed to listen to things that weren't Christian until I was like in college, basically. And
Yeah.
it's funny because I discovered some of this like punk or like emo music people would call it back in the day, and then as Passenger and these like slower sad songs around the same time, I ended up gravitating more towards Passenger in that, but I still like the punk ones. But it was funny because at one point one of my friends was like, I think what happens is like people who like Linkin Park just grow up to like Passenger. I was like, it makes
Oh,
sense. They are both
interesting.
just very depressing. Like it's just
Yeah.
sad music, but slower or
Yeah.
angrier, depending on the genre.
Man, yeah.
Yeah, fun
MXPX
stuff.
is a Christian band that is still one of my favorites because my
Okay.
parents were like, "You're listening to punk music? Stop it." Unless it's, Christian punk.
Oh man, good stuff. Good stuff. I Man, we could talk forever. I love talking to
We
Nick.
could.
Nick is one of the most fun people I know to speak with. Before we go, is there anything else people need to know about you? Any fun fact or just something you think that most people don't know about the land of Arda that they should know? Anything.
Um, if we I'm not gonna give a fun fact about Arda because I will be here for another 15
That's
minutes.
fair.
But
Yeah.
you should read any aspect of Tolkien's work. I'm also a big coffee guy. Like I measure my
Yeah.
beans, I buy from local roasters, and I do pour overs every morning. And I think that everyone
Nice.
should up their coffee game. And if you want to nerd out with me about coffee, that's also something I actually truly get nerdy with as well. So
I gotta say, I agree with the pour over thing, but not because like I'm a big coffee nerd. Just honestly, it's a convenience thing. I think it looks cool and it's pretty convenient.
yeah, it's really not that hard. And it really doesn't take that much longer than doing drip coffee.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, guys. Well, thanks for checking in. Thanks for listening. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And anytime you see the beautiful face right here, Nick Polk, just remember he was in fact chosen by the one and only evil zombie Tolkien.